It is time for Family Law After Dark, where we give very general legal analysis, but not legal advice, of various inquiries into people's lives revolving around divorce and different things. It's starting to become very popular with some of our subscribers.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
But here we are. Once again, if you guys have something you want us to analyze, send it to tiltedlawyer@gmail.com, and we will, if it's interesting enough, we will talk about it. Let's start here. This guy is a 43-year-old man. He needs advice for his 35-year-old girlfriend, non-mom. All right? So, I have been divorced for 6 years and have a 9-year-old son. I share custody with his mom, 50-50, which means I have my son 3 to 4 days a week. My son has ADHD and not only has trouble focusing his attention and impulse control, but also needs a lot of attention. I've been dating my girlfriend for almost a year and a half. She was raised by a single mom. My girlfriend does not want kids of her own. She has a chronic illness and is generally low energy and a homebody. Her love language is, I don't give a shit about her love language, but it's quality time, I guess. Lastly, she works in retail, random shifts while I work standard business hours, and we live 45 minutes apart. So we can only see each other 1 to 2 days a week, and sometimes it can only be when I have my son. He is talking about his girlfriend, right? This is okay. I introduced my girlfriend to my son about a year ago. Their relationship isn't bad, but it's not great. She's made it clear that she doesn't want to be a mom or his mom. And more recently, she's made it clear that she wants more attention and consideration from me when he's around. Oh, this would be so easy if this was me. I already know what I would tell this lady. It's just like, shit.
Oh, my God.
Before I say too much, all right. For example, I recently took them both out on the town for a day to a museum and a mall. My son got bored and wanted to leave the museum quickly, which just upset my girlfriend. She wanted to see the art. Then at the mall, my son wanted chicken nuggets while my girlfriend wanted sushi. I found a place that served both, but it was unacceptable to my girlfriend because she didn't think the sushi would be good enough. She wanted good food.
I have to agree.
I got to tell you what, though, I've had this I've been this guy. Not
You've been in that
43.
situation. Okay.
I was in this situation at 33.
Okay.
I'll explain after I'm done with this. All right. She wanted whatever. So I found a solution. We ate at a nicer sushi house, and my son got nuggets from the other place to go. But my girlfriend was upset that she had to stand her ground and come across like the bad one. She's made it clear that I need to give her more attention and consideration when I have my son, but it seems like a zero-sum game, and she's made it clear she's unhappy with the way things are now and will leave me if things don't change. But I'm equally fearful that my son needs my attention and consideration as well. I love her and things are great with... What is the legal question, sir?
Yes.
I don't see one. Well, let me just explain my scenario. Okay, so once when I was 33 years old, I was still in law school, and I was seeing a lady that was also in law school, and she wanted to go to a restaurant. I don't remember how she met my daughter, but she did. We were dating seriously enough, I guess, where that was a thing. It happened. She wanted to go to this restaurant. My daughter wanted to go somewhere else, like a Chuck E. Cheese or something. My daughter at the time would have been like 6 or 7. So my daughter won. There was not a discussion about, hey, which one should we go to? She's the winner. She's calling the shots. This is my kid. And she wants to go to Chuck E. Cheese. That's where we're going. And then she was so, well, we could have had at least a discussion about it. There's no discussion. What do you mean? Discussion for what? Well, what about my thoughts? Did you take into consideration what I was feeling?
There's no competition.
And I was like, my daughter wins. Her needs come before mine.
Yes.
Certainly before yours. And this is my journey. I sacrifice my needs for my daughter all the time. And if you want to stay on the ship, then you have to do your own. And I'm not going to accept all of these whatever arguments about your consider. It was a very easy decision for me.
Yeah.
There was not, and very rapidly thereafter, we had broken up, and that was it. That was it. When you're dating and you have a child and you're a single dad, I was kind of basically in this guy's exact same situation. I had like a 50-50 arrangement, which very quickly turned into, well, I'm just a single dad now. Mom had every other weekend. So I had to navigate that. But I was very protective of my daughter and her needs. I made a mistake, which I realized very early on at 33, that I should not have introduced my daughter to her, but I did. But when she made it her needs versus my daughter's needs, that's not even a hesitation. I mean, do you think that what do you want me to say? And, then it was like, what about me? And, she starts talking the same way. And what about, I need quality time. And what about, you need to care about my needs? No, I don't. I don't need to care about a damn thing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've been in the other position, of course, where I am, of course, the person dating somebody with kids already. And something that I never done, and I think it was pretty clear from the beginning, it's like, I cannot compete with a child. The child goes before me. Like, I know that's my place. Yes, that does not mean that he's going to be disrespectful or like dismiss my needs. I just know that if one of the children has needs and I have needs, theirs are going to come first.
Always.
And there's going to be a time and place for my needs to be fulfilled.
Yes.
That does not affect the children.
For sure. If you're doing the single parent thing, it's just if you're doing the parenting thing in general, as you're finding out, your children have a lot of needs. And, when they're babies, they're like this. And they progressively grow smaller, but not really. But you're protecting them. You're trying to keep them alive. You're trying to turn them into human beings and productive members of society and all of those things. And if you're a single parent, then your main objective is not whoever you're dating. Look, if you're single, then fine, do all of that. You have that privilege of doing that. Once you have a kid, that's all out the window. You're kind of dating as like I don't know if you're dating for purpose or as a hobby or not. I'm just saying it's not the number one overarching need of your life.
Yeah, I would say that, at least from the perspective of somebody that didn't have kids at the time that I started seeing somebody with kids, if you're going to go into that type of relationship, you need to be very clear what is going to be your position, and you need to understand that it's not going to be like any other relationship. Like you're not going to receive that 100% attention all of the time. And if you're not okay with that, then you just need to find somebody that doesn't have kids.
100%.
That's it.
Yep. If that's the kind of attention you need above all else, then I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
And I'll never be your guy because my daughter's already here. And I'm raising her, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
The reason I married my wife is because she put herself to the side to do whatever I needed to do with my daughter. And it was just always that way. Yeah. And she was very thoughtful and very, not calculated, but she was just very understanding of the fact that I have a daughter and she was always going to be secondary to her. And that's why I married her. And now she's at a position of, she's the queen bee in the house. Exactly. And she has that status. But at first, she conceded that my children are very important. And by the way, why would you ever date a guy that is willing to sacrifice his child's needs for you?
Yeah, that's another thing when you were reading that. Like the guy's like, because I understand that my kid also needs my time. I'm like, oh, yes, your kid
that's
your time.
A pretty fair assumption, dipshit.
Why are you questioning that? Like, are you really thinking about ignoring your kid and going with what she's saying just because she wants attention and you want to save the relationship? No.
Well, this guy's 43, she's 35. I don't know. Maybe there's an attraction mismatch there somehow.
I don't know.
Maybe he feels that because he's older and she's perceivably younger. It doesn't even matter. To me, that's just such not a dilemma. I don't know. Well, he doesn't have a legal question. Somebody made a comment the other day on our last episode for A Family Law After Dark. It's like, hey, so lawyers are therapists now?
I know if in family law.
Let me just explain. I didn't ask for this shit. No. This was just, these are the kinds of the way that I talk on these family, correct me if I'm wrong, Emiliano, the way that I talk about these hypotheticals is the exact same way I talk to my clients when they're sitting across from me on my couch.
Yes.
These are the conversations I have with them all the time. I didn't ask to become a therapist, but it's kind of part of the job. I feel like family law attorneys are uniquely qualified to know what's working, what's not going to work, and what's going to end in disaster and what's not. And I've been doing this for 10 years now. So we've seen a lot. We've seen people's worst. We've seen people at their best. We are ourselves married. Doesn't make us doesn't make us licensed therapists, but we just have a unique perspective. And because I'm forced to do this in my profession, I'm doing it here because I find it beneficial for people to gain this perspective that if you don't do certain things and you end up in divorce, this is what you're facing. How do you hold on to a marriage? When is a marriage worth holding on to versus letting go? These are all valid questions because they necessarily implicate different legal situations. It's different separating a 20-year marriage from a 2-year marriage, kids versus no kids, assets versus no assets. It's just, it's what we do. It's the nature of our profession. And so
we can give advice to people not to get married so that they don't end up looking for our services.
Yes.
Like we can tell the red flags, and also if you're already married, we can tell you what to do or not to do to also end up getting divorced. So
I referenced the movie War of the Roses, I think, on the last episode.
Yes.
I was watching it yesterday with my wife. It was not her speed. She fell asleep. It was also late. It was also made in 1989, but it's hilarious. I highly recommend it. But Danny DeVito, who was a lawyer in that movie, he said something. He was like, look, buddy, I make $450 an hour. I'm not charging you for this. And when a man that makes $450 an hour tells you he's giving you something for free, you listen. And then he proceeds to give him the story of the roses and what happens. It's just the nature of being a family law attorney. Is what I'll tell you what, I'm a lot less interested in the stories of the therapist, of the criminal, than I am about the stories about what happened in the attorney room, the criminal defense attorneys, as they were sitting talking to their clients and all the craziness that happened. It's just a lot more comes out. So enough of that diatribe. Let's move on to the next one.
Yes,
okay, so considering divorce, anyone know if it's better to be the initiator, petitioner, or the responder between the two of us? She has threatened divorce on multiple occasions, and I feel like the only reason she hasn't actually done it is the kids. I have always said I don't want a divorce, but I'm seeing the writing on the wall, and it is inevitable now. Will it be better for me if I initiate, or is it okay for me to wait until she initiates? As far as the kids are concerned, I don't want to mess them up with a divorce, but I also feel, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
So
California.
What would you answer? What would your answer be to this guy?
Well, in California, being a no-fault state, it doesn't matter who starts the petition or if you're being the respondent, you have no advantage by filing first. And
I'm not certain if that really matters if it's California or not. Just you guys are both going to present evidence. Yeah. Really where it affects it is, sometimes you get to speak first if you're the petitioner.
Yes.
When you're the petitioner, you don't have a deadline versus if you're the respondent, you got 30 days to respond. It affects things like that. If you guys are both on the fence of whether or not you're going to file a divorce and you've been married for, say, 8 years, and then you wait a couple years and nobody files for divorce, and now you're married for 10 years, you're now, instead of California, in a long-term marriage such that if alimony is a thing, you no longer have, the court can no longer put an expiration date on the alimony.
Also, if you are separated and you're in need of some alimony, but you let many years pass by before you file and ask for that alimony, you might be denied because you all these years, how do you support yourself? So although it doesn't necessarily have an advantage, if you file first or last, timing when to file might have an effect on the case and, of course, what you want.
I think from my perspective, what I would say is, as the petitioner, you kind of get to take your time and make sure all of your ducks are in a row and you have everything together. Because think what happens with the respondent. You just been served with divorce papers. Holy shit, I got 30 days to respond. Now they're looking for attorneys. Now they're probably on the internet, like reading about a million different things. There's all this anxiety. None of your ducks are in a row. You may or may not respond on time. You may or may not have to deal with a default because you didn't respond on time and you didn't have all the stuff. When you're the petitioner, when it's filed, you're pretty much done until they respond. Yeah. And so for ease of mind, it's probably easier to be the petitioner. Does it confer any legal advantage? Not really. When everybody's there, they're there. It doesn't matter who speaks first or last. If I speak first, it's one thing. If I speak last, it's another. I'm still getting all my evidence. I don't have their percentages of my wins and losses from when I was petitioner or respondent, but I'd imagine there's not really much of a difference, if anything at all. And so it matters in terms of that. But if you think it's writing on the wall, you might want to consult with an attorney. I don't know how long you've been married because you haven't really said, but you might be up against several deadlines that you're going to want to know about. So look, if it's something you feel the writing's on the wall, then file. I just had this case. I just spoke with somebody else where it was kind of the same scenario. And it was like, oh, I think that she's going to file for a divorce. And in the midst of me giving him a consult, I was telling him that, you know what? All this talk, you guys have been talking about it. At some point, somebody's got to do something. Yeah. So why don't you just have the conversation with her? You know, enough talk. If you're going to do it, do it. And then I looked him up. Turns out, oh, shit, she already filed. They just haven't served you yet, yes, but exactly. It's coming. And so this is information they didn't have before, but you have been served with it, but she's already filed and she's got an attorney. And so where do you go from here? You might want to have a conversation. But yeah, so I don't know what the answer is. If you think there's a hope of reconciliation, you know, that's up to you to decide. But if it's going the way that you think it's going, just it's worth it to talk to a lawyer to figure out your specific circumstances. And if it's going to cover you or protect your rights, for example, you've been married for 9 years and 6 months. If you wait 6 more months, it's a 10-year marriage. It's a long-term marriage. That subjects you to lifetime alimony versus half the term of the marriage. You may just want to file so you can say the date of separation was prior to 10 years to protect yourself that way. That's just one of many examples of why that might be beneficial. But that's we're going to move on from that. Okay, here is an immigration question, sort of. So I'm an American citizen, married to an individual getting his green card via our marriage. He got his work permit about a year ago, and we've been married for about 2 years. Still waiting on the interview for the conditional green card. We married for love, but it may not work out. Was curious if anyone has experience or advice on his eligibility for a green card and citizenship if we were to separate and or divorce. Yeah, I got some experience with that, actually.
Favor?
Yeah. Generally, if you have, and they've already filed there, he's waiting for the interview. Yeah. As long as it was a bona fide marriage, the government understands people get divorced. Exactly. People get separated. Shit happens. It's not going to affect it as long as they know it was a bona fide marriage. You married for love. They're going to ask them to submit like a picture, social media post. What evidence do you have that this was a legit marriage? Do you guys have joint bank accounts? Do you guys have utilities together, living at the same address? All of those things. But you found out that Billy was cheating with Sally up the hill, and all of a sudden you want to get divorced, and you got this pending immigration application. It's not going to affect anything. He'll be fine. They'll just want to know if it was bona fide or not. What do you think about that, Eliana? Yeah.
The experience that I've had with those cases is that instead of going, I think it's for the citizenship, like instead of, what was it? Like, I know there's a certain time that you have to wait. And then after that, you can apply for
the
green card or citizenship. And if you're no longer married or you're going through divorce, instead of getting the signature from the other person, you get a waiver.
Permanent resident. So there's a waiting period before you could file the N-400, which allows you to get citizenship. Yes. And so there is that waiting period. Exactly. But even then, they're going to grant your LPR status as long as it's a bona fide marriage, and then you'll do the waiting period. It's fine. Exactly. Just don't do something to get yourself deported as an LPR, which is pretty hard to do. But it happens. Yes. But yeah, you'll be fine if you don't commit any more crimes. And
just make sure that the evidence is submitted, though, because I did have one case where it was in the very initial stages. They had filed, but they had not submitted a bunch of documents, and because they didn't submit anything that they were asking for, it got denied.
Did they get like a request for evidence at least?
They did, but it was everything on the other parties, the U.S. citizens' email, and he didn't give access to her. And of course, when she realized, it was already denied.
Well, yeah, that sucks. Because then you got to start all the way over.
Yes.
But even then, she's probably going to be okay. Well, I don't know, actually. If she was never granted LPR status and now the marriage is they're no longer married. Yeah, that might be problematic. You're right. Listen to Super Lawyer Ileana. Have all of your paperwork legit. And if you're going to do something like that, make sure that they have both email addresses.
Yes, access to. Yes.
I could see where that would be problematic.
Yes.
All right, so let's move on. All right, this guy needs help getting a divorce. He doesn't have a job. All right. So long story short, I want to see what my options are in getting a divorce. I live in San Jose with no job. I'm wondering if my case is eligible for an attorney to take on for free. There's no eligibility, buddy. If a guy wants to take it on for free, they could do it. But good luck finding somebody that will do that. He says, emotionally and mentally abusive. I had to abandon my job right after marriage. Don't have any kids, thank God. He has a history of cocaine use and recently found out he's been seeing escorts. I have screenshots. Nobody gives a shit. He works as a car salesman and makes good enough to support us during the marriage, but did not allow me to seek employment. How long were they married for? One of my friends told me to just ignore it, and when I plan to remarry, I can deal with the divorce then. That's the stupidest thing you could do. Don't listen to your friend.
Please.
You're not telling me how long you have been married for. Did I miss it? Am I just missing it?
I don't think you mentioned, yeah.
Okay, so he's emotionally and mentally abusive. Then get out of the marriage. Well, here's the thing. You don't have to have a lawyer to file a divorce. You don't have any kids. I don't know if you have any significant assets. Whether or not you need an attorney really depends on this. If there's no assets and there's no kids, you just want to get the divorce. That's a very simple issue. You're going to file a document if you live in the state of California, which you said you do in San Jose. You're going to list your assets and you're going to say, we don't have anything. Yep. And on the judgment form, you're going to say this is a no asset marriage and we have no kids. And then it's going to ask you questions. Have irreconcilable differences arisen in your marriage such that no amount of therapy or counseling would help or rectify the situation? You're going to say yes. Do you wish to be restored to the status of a single person? Yes. And then, you're divorced. If you don't do this, if you wait until whenever, I don't know who it's going to affect more. I mean, it seems like he's working, you're not.
Yeah. Probably him.
But if you wait, 5, 10, 12, 15 years, just keep this in mind. You might think that you're living this single life. And I'm not saying that this can't be fixed in court, because it can. Date of separation is going to be whenever you guys stop living as man and wife, regardless of when you file for divorce. And I know I'm kind of corroborating what your friend is telling you. I'm just telling you it's stupid to do that. But listen, let's just say that you wait 15 years from now, and in the midst of all of that, you did start deciding to work and pursue a career, and you got yourself an undergraduate degree, and then you got a job as a filmmaker, and now you're making like $800,000 a year. He is going to file in his response when you inevitably ask for divorce. He's going to want alimony. He's going to want half of your house. He's going to want half of your cars. He's going to want half of all your stuff. And because you are married still technically under the law, it's technically, presumptively community property. I'm not saying you can't fix that, because of course you can. But you're going to need an attorney, and then you're going to you're probably going to end up paying somewhere upwards of $30,000 to $50,000 to fix all of that and stuff in court, because that guy ain't got nothing to lose. And in that scenario, he's looking for alimony from you and for half of the equity in your house, which at that point will probably be somewhere close to $750,000, in which case your friend's advice, if it's not fixed, will have cost you in excess of probably $500,000. I don't recommend doing it that way. Just get it divorced now. You can do it yourself for probably less than not even the filing fee, because you don't make any money. You'll probably qualify for the fee waiver. You don't even have to pay the $515 filing fee or whatever it is. But that's my advice to her. What do you say to that?
Same thing. I just told client yesterday. The worst cases to deal with, well, not the worst, but one of the worst is when they separate, but they file like 10 or 15 years after
that
they
sucks.
separated. And the amount of evidence and all the things, discovery that we need to do, it's so annoying.
Yes.
And it could have been avoided if they had filed right after separation or closer. I mean, maybe like a year after separation.
You want to know what an attorney's least favorite thing to do in all the world? It's discovery.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of things that attorneys bill for. Some attorneys bill for every little thing, every little email, every little phone call. I personally don't do that. But if you make me do discovery, I'm billing you for that shit. And I bill at $450 an hour. And it's going to be expensive because discovery takes many, many hours of going through the discovery. And now, okay, I've asked for 35 special interrogatories. They just sent me a stack of documents, 5,000 pages deep. You know what I now have to do? Go through every single page, one by one, to make sure we're not missing anything. That is how litigation becomes really costly. And what's more, you're asking for all this stuff. They're going to ask you for the same thing.
Yes.
You're going to have to produce an equally large stack of papers to give to them. And then we're going to go to trial over all of it, probably a 3-day trial for that much evidence for something that could have been resolved in 5 minutes had you just gotten it done now.
And what I see a lot in these cases is that they want to prove something, I don't know, maybe a credit or something like that is on bank statements.
Yeah.
And banks only keep records up to 7 years.
7 years, I think, is
And a lot of times it has been more than 7 years, and now there's no record, and now we can't prove your point that you paid the down payment from your separate property, and you're screwed only because you didn't file.
That's it. You could have. You could. Do you see our point? You see how dumb your friend's advice is. I just hope you know that. I really hope you just file and get the effing thing done. Just get it done. You're clearly out. You have no kids. You have no baggage.
Worst case scenario, you make up again and you remarry. That.
Don't do that. Just.
It happens.
I know it happens, but Jesus. I mean, it seems like she's young. Just get on with life.
Yes.
He's a freaking car salesman, for Christ's sakes. Nothing against car salesmen, but that's usually a job that you have in your 20s. It's not really a career. I don't know. Hey, Dominic, you want to be a car salesman?
I actually was for a little bit.
There you go. Oh, my.
Oh, boy. I'd love for Dominic to sell me a car. You know, I just bought my truck in July. And then the car salesman, he kept on saying this line. He was like, hey, you could have your car for, I don't know, whatever he's saying, $50,000 right now. It's brand new. You just gas and go. It's like, what do you keep saying gas and go for? It's like, oh, you just put the gas in, and then you could leave and drive off the lot. It's like, I could do that with my car right now. Like, how is that a big selling point? Like, what are we doing?
And what is the alternative? Like, you have to wait another day to get gas on it?
It's funny. Like, when I go and negotiate for a car, like, people get like super, oh, the big lawyer here, and so we have to be extra on our game. But like, if you know that, then why would you use a line like that? Just you gas and go, and we're live. Come on, man. Is that like your big line for like the? Oh,
I do expect the car to drive out of the lot.
For what it's worth, I just want to say this. I want to make this point clear. I had already purchased a car. I bought a used car. It was like a 2022 Ford truck, F-150, whatever. I got it for like a good deal. I was already pre-approved for it and everything. I was going to buy it. And then my wife was like, why don't you just go and see what you could do with the lot down the street? So I went, and I literally said, look, I don't need anything. I've already bought a car. I literally bought it online. And so this is what I'm buying this for. And so I'm only leaving here with the car today. If you can make me a deal, I can't refuse. And then they were saying all of this stuff that, well, we can knock off this, and that, and that's all we could do. It's like, no, because actually I don't have to pay for the premium bullshit here, and then whatever this bullshit charges. Look, I got to pay for the taxes. I got to pay for the registration fee, licensing fee, whatever's. All the other stuff is negotiable. I'm not paying for any of that. So unless you take it off, I'm not doing it. And then he's giving me the gas and go line. Long story short, I bought the car. I regretted it because I could have bought the same car. My wife talked me into it. See, this is why men don't need women. We don't need women, but we do. But if it had just been me, I would have left and had an extra $12,000 in my pocket at the end of the day.
I guess it also depends on the type of person when they go into a dealership, because
I mean, I don't pretend to be like the master negotiator for cars. I just know what I didn't have to pay and what I did have to pay. It seems like I still got hosed on the warranty they try to sell me. Oh, yeah. I forgot what it was, but it was like, okay, what if I gave you a 7-year warranty as opposed to a 3? He's like, oh, well, that'd be, it's like, done. And then he looked at it, and then I looked at it after the fact. I was like, holy shit, it's like this doesn't even cover oil changes. Like what you said. No. I hate you guys.
No, I'm the type of person that will probably buy a car online. Last car that I bought, I just sent my husband to the dealership and I told him, these are the cars that I like. Look at them. You know what I like? Tell me which are the top 3. And then after he told me what were the top 3, he did his research. I searched online like for safety and all that. And I told him between these 2, take me to the dealership. Saw one of them. I was like, no. Saw the other one. Yes, I'll take it like right now. And that's it. Like, I don't.
That's fine. That's perfect.
I don't need to convince him. But my husband, last 3 cars that he has bought, he has gone to the dealership to look. To look. Yeah. And somehow hours later, I'm like, why haven't you come back? And he comes back driving a new car.
Exactly.
And I'm like, how?
Nobody goes to a dealership to look.
Well, I can go and look.
No, it's not a mall. You don't just go like you're shopping for a sweater.
I did, and I didn't like what I saw, and I just left. Like
when a man goes to the store.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It's to buy something. I'm not going there to like shop around. You know, I already know what I want.
I guess I.
I told my wife, I'm buying her a car. I said, you just pick something you want. I will have no input as to what it is. It's not for me, it's for you. And she wanted a Tesla. Oh. And so she's like all on this like electronic cars kick and everything. But I was like, okay, like the charging and everything and whatever, you could just go and you don't have to pay for gas. It's like, yeah, but I'm buying a brand new car. I'm still paying for the car. And plus it gets like, they say that you're supposed to get like 350 miles per charge or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. But in actuality, from everybody I've ever spoken to, it's like, no, that's bullshit. It's like, it's more like 150 miles. Less. Depending on how you drive. And then you have to find a charging station and all this. Like, you know what? I'd just rather put gas in my car because I know how fast I'm going to go and there's gas stations everywhere.
I don't know.
But she wants the Tesla, and so.
I hate the gas stations. I don't think I'm going to like also the idea of having to plug in a car for electricity.
What if you do it at your house?
Yeah, but then if you're driving a long drive and then you have to stop and find somewhere to charge.
Exactly, which was my point.
The part, but the same thing with gas. Like I just don't like that part of having to, I guess, give maintenance to the car to keep it running.
I don't know, man. I know how to fill my gas tank, and it's just part of life.
I know how to fill it. It's one of the most annoying things that I have to do every single day.
I can't imagine not having to fill my gas tank. It's just,
Well, I guess I'm one of those.
I really want Dominic to sell me a car. I'm curious about how he would negotiate with me. I'm wanting to see if he would give me like a gas and go line or something. Gas and go. Like what would be your big line, Dominic?
I would just tell him I'll take off the packages because our dealership also had packages that were pointless, dumb packages, and I was like, I'll get rid of the packages completely for you right now if you do the deal. And that's how I got most of my customers.
I would say I am not doing the deal unless I'm only paying for the registration and the tax. If I'm paying for anything else, kiss my ass. I have a car. I don't need this shit.
What's a good strategy that helped me last time I bought a car? go 30 minutes before they're closing because they want to get out of there, and they'll just go ahead and say, you know what, I'm not going to even offer you this. I'm going to show it to you. If it's optional, this is what you can, it's not optional, and then that's it.
That is true.
And we closed the deal like super quick, and I was out of there. I was the last one, of course. They were like,
yeah, that's actually really good advice, you know. But yeah, the whole we were so far off track. We were not doing family.
I know.
Dark right. We're doing car sales with Dominic. Negotiation skills with Dominic, the producer. All right, let's move on to another case. The whiskey's starting to kick in a little bit. I'm the only one drinking because it's like 3:13. I know. We got another 13 minutes to go. Then we'll wrap this up. Okay, so what would be? This is a good question. Well, it looks like a good question.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your love? What am I reading? What would be your lessons learned, advice to others who have never divorced? I feel like I'm the only person that's been divorced in this room. I feel like this is a question to me.
Okay.
So I'm going to answer it. Well, I'll let you guys chime in. You guys can chime in. Dominic could jump in with all of his knowledge. For those of you who have been divorced at least once, if you can make a list of lessons learned and advice to others who have never divorced, or maybe if you were able to send them back to your past pre-married self, what would they be? And with that said, this list should not attack the other. Oh, get out of here. Should ideally also include things you could have done differently to help or better the relationship, because although the divorce could have been one person's fault that caused the final collapse, both sides most likely have things they each could have done better. All right.
Sorry.
I'm curious what you would tell this guy, Eliana. What would you say to him?
I have no idea. I mean, it's just such an open question. Like, and I've never been divorced, so
Dominic is not old enough to answer this question, I feel like. So here's my perspective. When I got divorced, I was 29 years old. And the reasons why I got married, I guess, would be the lessons learned. The reason why I got married, I was like 22. I was young, really stupid. And if you see pictures of me at 22 years old, I was just really boyishly looking. I looked really young, you know, had no business getting married. But the reasons why I got married initially had nothing to do with my feelings towards my partner at the time. It had everything to do with things that I was trying to fix in my family line. Failed marriages. I was the product of a broken home and all those kinds of things. So when I got married, it was very much the main focus of it was trying to correct the evils of my father for whatever he was guilty of. I mean, he was a kid when he got married to my mom. He was like 19 years old. He was a dumbass, teenager, child. But, you know, he's over here trying to play, you know, big boy games. Mm-hmm. So when I got married, it was very much the same thing. I had no business being who I was at 22 versus who I am at 43 are not even the same species of animal. Completely different. Mm-hmm. Dominic's 25 years old. When I was 25, I was still curious about the world. I was still of the mindset that, with just a little elbow grease, I could affect change in all of the world. And I could get into the legal world and through my lawyering prowess, I could really affect change. You were not affecting jack with your lawyering prowess. That is not how change is done. But, you know, we have these ideas of grandeur when we're younger. And when you are getting married and you have ideas of grandeur, imagine what her ideas of grandeur are. She has similar ideas, but they're very different from yours. And they're not going to match because your prefrontal cortex is not even fully developed. Dominic, I know you're 25 years old, you're a good guy and all, but you're still a science experiment when it comes to the world. You're not even, I don't know who you're going to be at 30 years old. At 25, you know, you're this guy, you're washing your figure carefully and you're doing the keto thing. You're about to take this trip to Japan and it's all well and good. And thank God you have no designs, as far as I know, on getting married to anybody. That's perfect. That's great. That's good. That's good stuff. You do not marry for happiness. And Eliana, maybe you could expound on this on this idea, because here's my idea of what I've learned. 2 marriages in. God willing, only 2 marriages, you know. My idea of marriage is you don't marry for happiness. That's impossible. It's extremely unfair to ask your partner to keep you happy all of the time. The reasons that we marry are for legacy. But you can't buy legacy. You can't marry into legacy. Legacy is created through the perils that you go through and overcome. And so when you marry and you're married to your partner, you're going to find out very quickly what is the worst of them. You're going to find out all of their snakes, all of their demons, and you're going to find out who they are, the most rotten, at their most rotten of states. That's what you're going to be confronted with. The more intimate you are with them as a person, the worse they're going to look to you. And it's incumbent on you, for the sake of legacy, for the sake of marriage, to accept it and find a way to live with it. And if you're not willing to go to those depths with an individual, then you shouldn't be getting married. And a lot of people get married unaware of, oh, that's what it was supposed to be. Oh, what's his name? He speaks all the time about music and what is the point of music. And a lot of it relates to marriage, and a lot of it relates to life experience. Alan Watts, he says that the point of music, it's not to get to the end. So you listen to a song and, you know, much like life, we're always so racing to the end conclusion. The point of marriage is not to, oh, you have this 50-year marriage, you know. It's all of the in-between, you know, and then it relates it to a song. It's like you don't listen to the music just to hear the last note. You got to listen to the first verse and then the chorus and then the second verse and then the chorus and then the third verse, and it all relates to each other in such a way. And there's highs and lows in the music, and you dance to the music, and that's the point. If it wasn't the point to listen to the entire song, then there'd be no point in playing the entire song. You just sit there in the concert and wait for the one big last crashing crescendo. So you don't get to the 50-year anniversary just because that's what you desire in life. It creates a great deal of a sacrifice on your part, sacrifice of your happiness, sacrifice of your comforts, sacrifice of your desires, and commitment to the legacy that you build. That's how deep it goes. And if you think that I'm speaking dramatically, I am, because that's what it is, because that's what it means. And I've seen my wife, I've seen her at her worst. I've seen her in her sickness, and it really is in sickness and health. She's not going to be the hot 29-year-old Latina for all of her life. At some point, she's going to get older. At some point, she's going to get sick. She's going to bury your children. She's going to help you raise your kids. She's going to cook you some really bad meals, and sometimes they'll be really good. And it's a given. You only never. Sometimes it's just a mystery meal. We don't know what we're eating tonight. Sometimes it's a Caesar salad with grilled shrimp, and it's like weird, but you consume it out of love because it's what we do. It's what you marry for. And so you're marrying somebody because you understand that, look, you can fall in love with anybody. You really can. You often run into times when you're married where you're completely silent with your spouse because you have nothing left to talk about because you know everything about each other. There's this great line in Pulp Fiction that I know Dominic, and I know you guys have never seen this movie, but there's this great line that, what's her name, says to John Travolta as they're sitting at the restaurant, where it's like, you know, people just don't know how to shut the F up together. Everybody thinks they got to fill silence with some stupid noise. But you know you're really in love with somebody if you sit there and enjoy a moment of silence with them. And then people become disenchanted with, oh, I'm so bored with my spouse. And then you find some coworker to talk to or some whatever to talk to, and all of a sudden they're brand new and exciting and you have everything to talk about, and you think, oh, well, maybe this person is better than my spouse because they engage me so well and we talk so well. Hey, you spend a year with that person, you ain't gonna have nothing to talk about with them either. They're gonna become just as boring as your partner is now. It's the novelty that you're attracted to, it's not the person. And until you know how to dismiss novelty for the sake of legacy, you have no business getting married. And just understand what you're doing when you decide to take this step, because it's all or nothing. And if you're not prepared to accept a person at their absolute worst, to accept all of their snakes and all of their demons and still love them and give to them when they can't give to you in the hopes that they might do the same for you, you have no business marrying that person. If you get married too young and you realize you got married for the wrong reasons because everything that I have just explained was not contemplated by you or by anybody around you who was counseling you at the time that you decided to get married, there is nothing wrong with pulling the plug on it and saying, you know what? I effed this up. It's a long life. I'm going to cut ties now because life isn't worth living in this kind of a marriage. When you have two people that are not willing to accept your worst, that are not willing to sacrifice for you, that are not willing to lift you up, that are not willing to do the things that you require to live your life, then get rid of them. I'll tell you what, when I got my first divorce, the first time that I knew that I was definitely getting divorced was, I remember I told her that I was going to law school. And it was so much like that movie, Pursuit of Happiness. You remember that movie? You saw that movie. You saw the movie, Dominic. Yeah. At the very beginning of that movie, he's telling his life about how he got this internship with JP Morgan. And, you know, it was, nothing was guaranteed and it was for no money at all, but he was going to give it his best shot because that's what life requires of him. And then she's like, well, why don't you just be an astronaut? And then she just kind of scoffs at him and then she just leaves. She left. And then he fulfilled all of his dreams without her, which was a beautiful moment for him. It was so similar to my story. My wife basically said, the first one, law school for what? You really? Seriously, you're going to be a lawyer? That's what we're going to do? You know, you're going to law school all of a sudden, you know? It was almost the exact, it was just so parallel to that movie. And then that's when we got separated and then ultimately divorced. And then I was in law school at the time. And then, you know, we've lived our different lives and I've lived happily ever after. And that is what it is. But if I were to have stayed in that marriage, it would have not benefited my life. It would have sucked life out of me. So if you've found yourself in a bad marriage in your 20s or your 30s or whatever, it gets a little dicey going into your 40s and 50s. But if you're in that position, then leave. Because it's not going to get any better. No. Because a marriage that was not built on a foundation of what I described a commitment should be is not really a marriage worth living. And if you come to that realization, there's nothing wrong with cutting the cord, and I will cut myself off with that. What do you think about all that, Ileana? What do you think, Dominic?
Yeah,
do you concur?
Yes. I mean, I agree. I just will add that, especially when people are young, the decision to get married should come from you. Like, you need to completely ignore everybody around you, society, family, what they expect from you. And also think about the reasons why you're getting married. Because what I've seen a lot is people trying to fix their relationships or issues with getting married, with or having a child, because they think that this new novelty, this new celebration is gonna help fix everything, but no, it's just gonna make it worse.
Yeah, it's not like a puppy.
No. So it just, aside from, of course, my job, unfortunately, I've seen it happen among friends a lot where they just get married for the wrong reasons. And from the beginning, I'm like, yep, this is not going to work. And exactly months or even years later, a divorce is coming. So.
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you're ever unsafe in a marriage, get the hell out.
Oh, yes.
Safety is number one. There was a hypothetical that we addressed last week where it was like, hey, you know, I married this guy and there's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong. I'm just bored is basically what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Should I get a divorce? My advice was just give it a year. We talked about like therapy and stuff. But yeah, if your expectation is perennial happiness and you're always entertained and you always find him funny and he's not going to annoy you to no end or whatever and everything's going to be this big fairy tale, you are not mature enough to get married. And matter of fact, you should probably just not be married now. But we had, my advice to her was to wait a year, therapy, whatever we said. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. Marriage is not a cure.
No.
It is not a cure. It is a destination, and it requires an enormous amount of commitment, more than you've ever imagined. It's more than a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's something different. That's my advice to this person. My lessons learned, those are my lessons. Let's move on. We got one more, and then we're done.
Okay.
All right. So this is a short one. She says, divorce advice with a narcissist. I love that word.
The narcissist.
Don't you love that word?
Whenever I start a consultation and they tell me, oh, just a heads up, my ex is a narcissist.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, God, here we go.
Say totally a narcissist.
All of the exes are narcissists when it comes to consultations. So.
Yep. Yep. All of them. Well, here we go. What do we got? We have, so I'm soon to be divorcing my narcissistic husband. He and his aunt conspired to take my children away from me. My husband is abusive mentally, emotionally, physically. He also has multiple online emotional affairs and was never caught in a physical affair, but the signs were there. I need help in just getting sorted with what to expect and how to prepare myself. I'm still reeling from the pain of losing everything we built alongside, recovering from the bruises he left. Life really sucks right now. I've got a feeling there's a lot more to this story. Of course there is. What would you tell this young lady?
Get some mental help. I mean, not mental in terms like she's sick, but some mental health support, because she seems to be not dealing well with this process. I don't know. There's not much legally other than get a divorce.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, mentally, emotionally, physically abused. Get your ass out of that marriage immediately. Second of all, you know, I mean, she's talking about the online affair, so she's out on the marriage. I get that impression. What to expect, how to prepare myself. She hasn't really left a whole lot of information.
No.
She's recovering from bruises that he left. Life really sucks.
Get a restraining order if it was.
Oh, I mean, if she's in danger, for sure. He and his aunt conspired to take my children away from me. All right, well, let's deal with that one really quick. If you have bruises on your arm, if you have evidence of physical abuse on his part, by all means get a restraining order, because for no other reason than to keep you safe. But secondarily to that is Family Code Section 3044. There's a presumption that he can't have custody of the children if he has committed acts of domestic violence against you specifically. And so he may try to threaten you with the children or take the children away, but he's not going to be able to do it because of the way the law is constructed in the state of California. With that said, I don't know where you're at right now. I don't know where you're going to go with the children, but you have to get yourself out of there for the sake of the safety of the children and for the sake of the safety of yourself. You have to have somewhere to go. You cannot, by any measure, leave the children with him. So if that means you got to go to a cousin's house, you got to go to a sister's house, you got to go to some friend's house and take the children with you, and you're doing it in the name of safety, then you got to file what's called an ex parte request for a domestic violence restraining order. You don't have to really prove anything. You got to just tell the judge exactly what's happened to you. How did you get those bruises on your arm? What's the last instance of abuse that you experienced? How long has this been going on? Why do you think you're in danger? Why are the children in danger? Get yourself a restraining order. And even if they don't grant a restraining order for the children, if they grant the restraining order for you and the children are around you, they will be protected. And then they will, by virtue of that restraining order, make a temporary order that he should have no visitation until further order of the court. And then they're going to explore the veracity of your claims. And then inevitably they will make permanent orders. But if they find that he's been abusing you under the DVPA, the 6200 series of the California Family Code, which gives this very broad definition of what domestic violence is. It could be anything from physical abuse to sending mean text messages. They kind of summarize it by anything that disturbs your peace, which is very broad, of course. But all you got to do is prove that that's going on and that you're legitimately in danger or fear of him. And you will have an order that says that you have full custody, no visitation of dad until we figure out what's going on with him. And obviously that's going to lead to a domestic violence hearing. You're going to have to probably get yourself an attorney for it unless you feel confident enough to tell your story by yourself in front of the judge. The danger in not having an attorney is if he gets an attorney and you're trying to put on evidence of domestic violence and you don't know how to get it in because you don't know the full evidence code, you're going to have a bad day in court. Maybe. It's possible you can win on your own, but it's not guaranteed. At that point, if they make a finding that domestic violence has occurred, he's not going to have any visitation. And any visitation he has is likely going to be supervised, probably by a professional monitor, unless you guys could agree on some non-professional monitor that doesn't cost any money, and good luck with that. But you have to get these things done, and you got to get it done now. And I know that you say life really sucks right now, and it does. But if you don't take these steps and you wait on this and you don't file for a restraining order, let's say you wait a year and then he doesn't leave marks on you again. Good luck proving your case, because then it's going to be like, okay, if you knew this was an issue, why didn't you do it like a year ago? Exactly. And then your claims are going to have less weight. So if this just happened, you still got bruises on your arm, you got to go now. You have to go now. Do not wait. Don't let him talk you out of it because of whatever threats he's making. You got to do it right now. What do you think, Ileana?
Oh, I agree. Unfortunately, it happens a lot where people go through these domestic violence incidents and they don't do anything in the moment, and then later on they're going through a divorce or some custody battle and they want to bring up the domestic violence incident, and usually there's the argument, well, why didn't you do anything at that point?
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't, like you said, it's less weight.
And I really hate when judges ask that question or counsel makes that argument. It's just, there's a million reasons why
There
not.
are, yes. But at the same time,
You still got to prove your case.
you still got to prove your case. And there's always that, not option, but I mean, it could happen that it wasn't as bad as you're telling it now. And
True.
it can be used against you.
Yes.
Much, so
100%.
just,
So that is our advice for her. I hope that she gets her help. I hope that she takes action now. It'd be really stupid of her to wait. I guess we'll see.
with divorce, like just having issues, I can see why you would just give another chance to the other person, even infidelity. But with domestic violence, the first time, just leave. Like, at least to me as a woman, I wouldn't tolerate.
But it's also the logical fallacy in that argument about why didn't you bring this up 8 months ago? Because we were effing married with kids, and it's not just like, I'm breaking up with my boyfriend. He's like the main source of financial support. We have a house together. We got kids together. It's not just, he sent me a mean text message. I'm going to definitely go get a restraining order. There's a lot of thought and consideration that goes into it. But that's usually the main, well, why didn't you bring this up whenever? Which is why it's so important, even though you're unsure, even though you don't want to. You could always dismiss a claim that you bring, especially if they haven't filed a response. You could resolve it later. But if you don't, if you wait, then they're going to have that argument. As illogical as it is, it's still basically his main point.
Yes.
If I was so dangerous, then why didn't she move out a long time ago? Because I was a stay-at-home mom, because I have nowhere to go, because I had no other source of financial stability, because the children didn't know about any of these things that were going on, because it would mean that they're going to have a broken home, and because I was a product of a broken home, and because I psychologically don't want to go there with myself, and now I'm having to come to the realization that all of these things are happening, and all these things are going off in my brain at the same time. Forgive me if I didn't know to make the decision about when to file a domestic violence restraining order. Because abuse has just become a way of life for me, and I didn't know that I had to definitely, every single time it happened, rush to the court to tell the judge about it.
No, that's definitely, you're describing the battered woman syndrome.
That's what it is. I've had lots of those cases.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard because I guess it depends a lot on personality and what you've been through. I personally, I guess, can tell the red flags and have never allowed like people like that into my life, but I can see how other people will allow it and will stay in there. That's why I guess, at least for me, first time that happens, especially if it is physical, to me, it's like, okay, I'm done.
Automatic.
But I can tell how other people will stay. Like you're explaining, there's so many reasons why you will stay, but if you're asking for advice, I'm telling you, the first time it happens, if you can't leave.
Could you imagine? Okay, let's say that you could notice all the red flags. What if the red flags didn't manifest until 8 years later?
And it happens.
After you've been married for 4 years and have a kid or two. Then what?
No, then, I mean,
because you're saying that right now. You're saying, the first time it happens, I'm definitely gone. It's like, but now it's just like, what the F?
No, of course, it will be like a what the F, but I don't know. I think I'm not the right person to ask because of what I do, of course.
Yeah.
Because if my husband would put a hand on me, like, I just, even if I have a daughter, to me, it's no question. Like, I need to leave. But
yeah,
I can see how, and it also depends a lot on what environment you grew up. If you saw this around you, if you thought it was normal, if people around you are telling you, yeah, that happens in marriage, like there's just so many factors that affect this decision. But again, if you're asking for advice, just, if you can, just leave.
I feel like if my wife put her hands on me, I wouldn't think that she was serious. I wouldn't think it was like, oh, are we play fighting now, or what are we doing? But I feel like if I were to put my hands on her, then I don't think that she would have any hesitation.
Yes.
Getting out, as she should. Because I've never done that before. But she's told me about like experience she's had with like exes, about things that they would say and like try to manipulate. It's like, really?
Yes.
And like, I'm just not that guy to have to say those things to somebody, you know?
And like the little things, like for example, I remember there was one guy that I dated that made a comment about my skirt being too short. I was like, yeah, you're not going to be commenting about how I dress.
Yeah.
There was another one in high school that I remember I told him of my desire to eventually, I wanted to be a veterinarian. And at that moment, there was no school in Puerto Rico for veterinarians. So I knew I was going to need to go overseas to the States. And as soon as I told him that, he's like, well, if you're with me, you're not going to study in like overseas or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's why I'm not going to be with you. Like, that's the whole reason. Like little things like that you could tell that eventually, if you continue with that person, it's going to be controlling.
Yeah.
And those are like little things, not even physical. Physical, fortunately, I haven't had that experience.
Yeah.
But I have had friends around me, and I don't know. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen people just be like, okay, no, I'm not gonna deal with this. And I've seen people just stay there.
Yeah.
Thinking they're gonna change. Thinking that maybe they were a little bit intoxicated and they didn't know what they were doing. And they put excuses. But I don't know.
I gotta tell you, I've been intoxicated many times. I never had the inkling to put my hands on a woman.
Exactly. That's what I think. Like, if it happens once, it's probably gonna happen again, and he's gonna get intoxicated again. And no, like it's, I don't know.
Yeah, huge red flag. That's not an excuse. oh, I don't know. I was so mad in the moment, having such a bad day.
No.
There's plenty of men out there that have lots of bad days that don't decide to hit women.
Yes.
Or feel the need to degrade them verbally, physically, whatever. So that's all we have for you guys on this episode of Family Law After Dark. If you have stayed with us for this entire 2.5 hour long form podcast, thank you so much. Oh, you're going to want to stay tuned for the, fulfillment of our contract.
Oh my.
I want you to, for the next minute and a half or so, to be serenaded by the soothing sounds of Ileana clone Rosa as she sings whatever she's going to sing. It's going to happen. You got to get him your audio clip tonight. I'm going to get him my audio clip.
I got to put on my daughter's music, I guess. I don't know. The thing is that I find myself singing in the house the songs that, like the, not lullabies, but like the kids'
It's the kids' songs. I know how it goes, man. I got the same songs running through my house.
But if you tell me like to sing it, it's like, oh, I don't know. It's not the same.
I am not looking forward to it any more than you are. But here we are. Well, guys, stick around for that because it is coming. The big payoff for the 10,000 subscriber promise that we made like a month ago.
Yes.
But for everybody else that you don't want to hear that, you don't need to hear what you're about to hear. You can just sign off right now. I could tell you, I could promise you, I'm sending this clip to Dominic. I'm never going to listen to it. He's going to do whatever he does with it, and I'm just going to be done.
Oh.
I'm already cringing at the thought of what's coming. But here it is. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.